Probably the number one question that I get asked all the time is, Ken, what would you say is the greatest thing you've learned about singing? And I'd have to say it's learning from a vocal coach that could actually sing well. Let me explain. I took a lot of lessons. I spent about $1 million on my voice over the years, taking from a lot of different vocal coaches. And the only coaches that actually taught me anything were coaches that could sing well, that could actually demonstrate it for me. And I'm not talking about like a little ditty of a little line in a song or some weird operatic thing. I mean, actually sing whole songs and sing them well. As I look around the internet, I am just not seeing any vocal coaches singing any full-length songs, and they're showing no students singing full-length songs. But if they can't do it themselves, how can they possibly teach you how to do it? There's an old sensei thing in martial arts that says you'll only be as good as your sensei. So if your sensei can't sing a whole song and they're not showing any students singing songs, but anyway, I do want to show you some stuff. So I'm going to dive right into Like a Stone. So we're going to learn how to sing Like a Stone. So if you're ready, let's do this. Okay, so the first thing about Chris, as is true with a lot of modern rock singers, as we've discussed many, many times, and that's that they cover their sound. And what does that mean? It's kind of like singing everything through the letter R, okay? R, okay? So I want you to think about that, but before we do that, there's a couple prerequisites that I want to mention. The first thing is, if you haven't seen my video on diaphragmatic support, or several videos on diaphragmatic support, I will put that in the description for you to check out. The other thing is, I did a version of this song myself, end to end, like we just talked about at the beginning of the video. I'm going to put that in the description. You can see how I did, and we're going to use that as the template by which I teach you. And the last thing, too, is that when we go to sing and we want to cover our sounds into an R to be more like a modern rock sound, we're going to open up the sound first, get all the spaces working for us, and then we'll bring some closure or some covered or color the sound darker, okay? So I want to play it first. Here we go. And I'll just take it a simple line at a time. Here we go. On a cobweb afternoon in a room full of emptiness by a freeway, I confess I was lost in the pages. Okay, so I'm going to stop it there and call up the lyrics here. On the first line, instead of going on a cobweb afternoon in a room full of emptiness, right? I want you to open up the sound first, okay? Because we want to get pitch. We want to get it all the spaces going in the face, you know, the resonators and intonation in the face. So I want you to have a little smile, okay? On a cobweb afternoon in a room full of emptiness, okay? And just do that a few times. Don't try to rush through the song and try to finish the whole song. You really want to build this and pace yourself in stages, okay? So let's do it again. On a cobweb. Now notice I'm not overemphasizing the words. I'm not going on a cobweb afternoon in a room full of, right? It's really small sounds, and if you really listen to Chris, his sounds are really small. Now, I'll do it first, I'll keep it open, and then I'll cover it like Chris so we can get it more like Chris or more like a stone, okay? So open up our mouths first. On a cobweb afternoon in a room full of emptiness. Let's get our pitch together better. Hold on. On a cobweb afternoon in a room full of emptiness by a freeway, I confess I was lost in the pages. That's what I meant to do. Anyway, okay, so now that we've got that together and we've sung it repetitively a few times, we've got our phone out, we've listened to it. You didn't blow chunks on that one line like Ken Tamplin. By the way, I'm human, man. I have to work this stuff up just like you guys. And I'm actually glad that I leave stuff like this in there for you to see. And now you see my students kind of struggling, especially when you're in my singing course. By the way, I have a singing course. Yes, if you're interested, you can find it right here, KenTamplaVocalAcademy.com. Good, got that out of the way. But anyway, so I even let my students, you guys see, we work at this stuff, right? So, all right, now I want to cover this sound, and I'll do it open first, and then I'll cover it, okay? On a cobweb Afternoon in a room full of emptiness by a freeway. I confess I was lost in the pages. Okay, that's nice and open. Now, here's how Chris did it. Oh no, so get your R together. Everything's kind of sung through an R. On a cobweb afternoon in a room full of emptiness by a freeway. I confess I was lost in the pages. Okay, now, I did a few things. I didn't just cover the R's. Chris takes it a step farther, and he barely moves his jaw. On a cobweb. So everything is kind of like this. Almost no motion in the jaw or the mouth, and it's really covered. On a cobweb. Afternoon at noon in a room full of emptiness. By the way, let me tell you why I struggle on this part. You're going to find this fascinating, as I did, I hope. Chris sounds to me like a really great 80s metal singer that has some soul and blues that chooses not to use it, okay? And so whenever I get to a line like this, my inclination would be to go, on a cobweb, afternoon in a room full of emptiness, of da-da-da, wah-wah-wah. You know, I'd have a tendency to want to throw a lick in it or something and not sing it so straight. However, in this song, Chris, except for the very end, chose to sing the song really straight. So when I, as a blues singer, get to something like that where it's just really straight, I have to really think about it. I have to negotiate my notes and work through it, just like anybody has to work up something. If I'm singing something this straight, I have to do this. And this song is sung very straight, okay? So anyway, let's get back to the covering. On a cobweb, afternoon in a room full of emptiness by a freeway. I confess I was lost in the pages. Okay, so that's the first part of this. Now let's move on to the next part. All right, of a book full of death. Now we're going to start open. Of a book. So do each line, just stop at each line. Of a book full of death, reading how we'll die alone, and if we're good, we'll lay to rest anywhere we wanna go. Okay, so that's kind of really open on the sound. Now, I want to break this down a line at a time too. He's not singing the vowels like you think. He's going a, b, f, a, de, re, ha, we, da, okay, check it out. Of a book full of death, reading how we die alone. You hear how little movement of the vowels there are? Almost none. And if we're good, I think that's the next line, we'll lay to rest anywhere we wanna go. Do you hear how it's all closed down? Now, I want you to do yourself a favor when you can. I want you to go to the original video of Chris and the official video of them doing the song. And what you're gonna see is, wow, you're right. He doesn't move his mouth at all. Everything is kind of like this, and it's not moved at all. So now let's move on to the next thing. So we're gonna open up in your house, right? So in ya ha, right? We're gonna bring that vowels in the back first. I long to be, right? Rome by Rome, right? Now I'm adding a little grit to the sound. I prefer that you start clean tone first, and then you can lean into it a little bit for you guys that know how to get distortion. But now if I did this and I covered it, in your house, I long to be, right? He's leaning into the sound. Now I want to point one more thing out. We don't want to go straight to a distorted sound like we've talked about a lot of times, because when we do this, we're forever sentencing ourselves to be forced to have to really, pinch and squeeze to get the notes like a street singer. But I've worked up open throat vowels first so I can get to that distortion with freedom. So I go, in your house. I can say it, or in your house. Right, I can do it either way, or percentages in between, without always having to sing with growl or grit or whatever. So again, the vowels were e, ya, ha, e, ra, ba, ra, pe, sha, le. In your house, I long to be. Room by room. Now I'm not going room. It's ra by ra, patiently. I'll wait for you there like a stone. Right, he's kind of like really leaning. I might be kind of too dirty. I'm almost on the Dio side of it, so I'll try to clean it up a little. I'll wait for you there alone. Right, so that's kind of the crux of the whole entire song. Now let's go to the next line. And on my deathbed, I will pray to the gods and the angels. So what I want you to do is let's brighten it up first, okay? So I'll sing it with a nice, bright, clean tone. And on my deathbed, I will pray to the gods and the angels. Okay, so that's cleaner. Now let's dirty it up a little bit and cover it. And on my deathbed, I will pray to the gods and the angels like a pagan, to anyone who will take me to heaven, to a place I recall. I was there so long ago. The sky was bruised, the wine was bled, and there you lead me on. Okay, now I'm gonna play the video, and I want you to see how I did. Okay, so I'm gonna take it I'll take it from where we left off. Here we go. Of a book full of death, reading how we'll die alone. If we're good, we'll lay to rest anywhere we wanna go. In your house, I long to be. Room by room, patiently, I'll wait for you there like a stone. I'll wait for you there alone. Okay, now I confess that I'm a little more Coverdale on a like a stone, baby, baby. I just like that sound for me, and I suspect Chris did too, but he didn't want to be sniffed out as an 80s metal guy. He wanted to stay in the modern rock crowd, so I think he was really careful to not go down that road. Even though he had all of the makings of that, he chose to stay, really straight on the sound. So let's go. Next verse. And on my deathbed, I will pray. See, I didn't even do it as much as Chris. I went, and on my deathbed, I will pray to the gods and the angels, where Chris would have closed it down even farther. And on my deathbed, I will pray to the gods and the angels like a pagan, to anyone who will take me to heaven, to a place I recall. Right, so I'm really not even moving my jaw at all right now, more like Chris than I did in this video, because I wanted it to sound a little more like Ken Tamplin. Okay, here we go. The gods and the angels like like a pagan to anyone who will take me to heaven, to a place I recall. I was there so long ago. The sky was bruised, the wine was bled, and there you led me on. In your house I long to be. He wouldn't have done that. He would have gone, in your house I long to be. And I went, in your house I long to be. Right, so I got more vibrato, like I'm much more 80s or David Coverdale kind of on the sound, but that's my thing too. So I can do it like him. I just chose to do like me, or more like David me. But anyway, all right, let's continue. Here we go. By the way, notice he does go room, because you can't sing an ooh up that high. It's really uncomfortable in the throat, so it's rum. Think of singing ra, like love. Rum by rum. You'll hear a lot of singers do that too, especially if they're really doing it live and they're really going through trying to pace themselves through the vowels. And I talk all about that in my singing course. Here we go. Patiently, I'll wait for you there, like a stone. I'll wait for you there, alone, alone. Okay, so that's more kind of like Glenn Hughes meets David Coverdale. And he would alone, alone. See, he would have a lot less bluesy swag than what, and though he does do it, he has it in him. He did, you hear him do it throughout other songs and stuff. But again, he chooses not to, and I chose to do it. So here we go. I'm gonna get past this solo here. Hold on. I love this part. Hold on, let me back up. Play it first. And on I read till the day was gone, and I sat in regret of all the things I've done. Okay, now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna grab this. I sing it a little heavier than he did. And I think I like the way he sang it better. Of course, I like the way he sang the whole song better. I don't claim to be as awesome as Chris. That's not the point of this, guys. But I want to go, and on I read, by the way, really cool Lennon, Beatlesy kind of thing. And on I read until the day was gone, and I sat in regret of all the things I've done, for all that I've blessed, and all the things I've wronged in dreams until my death. I will wander on. Right, so that's kind of his approach. Mine was a lot more, like I said, more Glenn Hughesy, and I also like Paul Rogers, as you guys know, a lot, and I like Lou Gramm a lot. So I bring a little bit more of my earlier childhood influences into something like this. So I did like, and on I read until the day was gone. So I've got, I bring a little bit more of that to the table. So anyway, let's go to the end here. But I just love that section. It's just a genius section for the song. For all that I'm blessed, and all that I've wronged in dreams until my death, I will wander on. Now that was more throaty than Chris. Wander on. That's more of a Dio approach. He's more like wander on. He's more tubular on the sound. He's not as big and throaty. And again, too, I remember when I was doing this, I remembered saying to myself, oh man, I've got some high notes I got to get to the end of, so I can't over sing this section. And if I do, I'm going to have to manhandle it all the way to the end. And I kind of did a little bit of that here. I regret it a little bit because I probably shouldn't have been as dirty on my sound because Chris wasn't quite as dirty, but. In your house, I long to be roam by roam, patiently I wait for you there, like a stone, I'll wait for you there, alone, alone. Again, it's very Coverdale towards the end. And I just sang alone, alone. Right. So again, it's very, very Whitesnake, like it's not quite Cornell. But I did really try to stay true to Cornell and just his phrasing, his melodic structure, not over-sing the blues. I tried to get close to his distortion in tone, but I wanted still to sound like me. Some people said, oh, you over distorted this song. Yeah, I did a little bit, but I kind of like that, and I kind of struggled a little bit, I'm human, to get through it, because these are just these vocal demonstrations I'm doing to show you guys how to sing like this. So hopefully this information was beneficial, and definitely stick around and check out my next video.